Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, April 29th. We're on the Asian account now. Oddly, we don't have 2 packs to open, which seems weird because I should have 2 packs open, but I guess I haven't been rewarded the second one yet. I wouldn't be surprised if I get rewarded another pack or 2 later on also. I doubt any of these cards are new, even on the Asian account where I have lesser cards. Let's see, yep, 5 cards, immediately just dusted for 40 dust. And we move on from that. So what do we need to do? We have 3 things. We have win 3 games with the Druid and Rogue. We've been struggling like crazy to try and win anything at all today. Paladin or Warrior. Let's try Druid and Rogue and Mage just to keep it varied. But it is definitely not been a good day. And since I just need to play cards, I'll play ranked on Mage. Just to make sure I've got 5 ranked victories. I'm pretty sure I've gotten 5 ranked victories over the course of the month. And then we kind of need to go through the news because there's a decent amount of news and I don't see... We might have some left over if I'm not careful. So we've got this game on Steam called Squishy, which seems to be a puzzle game where the blocks automatically roll based on the symbols on them. And there's a cat that either you're trying to squish or a cat that is you're trying to avoid being squished. It seems like this, you're the cat and you're controlling the actions and changing what the tiles say. But this whole thing also seems very odd. The cat can apparently magically fly also. And the cat definitely doesn't feel like it is being controlled under or having to follow any of the rules of the way the boxes move. So yeah, Squishy, S-Q-V-I-S-H-Y, Squishy is 99 cents, no discount, English only. It just doesn't look like there's enough game here. This would be maybe fun for 2 minutes. I wouldn't even give it 5 minutes before I get bored with it, quite frankly. There we go. Let's see, next we have a game on Steam here called Dzan, which looks like a maze game, first person shooter, asset flip game. It almost looks polished enough to be something of interest, but no, not really. The early access for $8.99 with 10% off. Yeah. This is just a little too asset flippy for me. Let's come over here and actually play. There we go. Let's look at this developer and see if he's made anything else. No, he hasn't. Yep, so yeah. That's a game that perhaps actually is good quality, but doesn't present itself well enough for me to ever bother to find out. Next we have a game on Steam called Mordhau, M-O-R-D-H-A-U, which looks like Shield and Swords, Battle Simulator. It looks pretty polished in all the screenshots though. It's also rated very positively. It's $26.99. I don't think I can ignore this game. I think it deserves to be on the follow list. Now, in all fairness, I don't know if I really would ever want to play any of these games. It's only online multiplayer. Okay, good. I was about to have to make some excuses about why I really don't want to play a battle simulator, even if it is really good. But it's multiplayer, so I can just use that as an excuse to not play it. However, if you do want to play multiplayer games, swords and cutting people's heads off, very graphic there. That is a thing. Like, Mordhau seems to be a good choice. At least looks to be a good option. Next, we have a game on Steam called Fighter Royale Last Ace Flying, which looks like a battle royale game with airplanes. That idea doesn't sound terrible, frankly.
What shall we hunt?
In fact, there was a Snoopy flying game on Xbox 360, or Xbox Arcade for the 360, that was very much that. It's free to play, so the price is there. It's multiplayer only with in-app purchases. So if you want to check it out, it is free to play. I think there's a lack of polish here. I think you'd probably get bored after an hour or two. So try it out. Personally, I think I'd skip it just for the graphics because I am very, very picky on graphics quality. Let's see, if we played this, then
I wonder.
we'll die.
Science over war.
Job's done.
Let's see. Next, we have an article from Gamma Sutra. Japanese mobile operator Docomo sinks $200 million into Magic Leap, which is interesting because the mixed reality Magic Leap, I have not heard anything about them for quite a long time. Apparently, they rolled out a headset last August, and I really have not heard of any software or anything that uses it. It is kind of its own proprietary world because you can't just simply add support to a Steam game for the Magic Leap. It feels like, I don't think I've ever seen a Steam game say it supports Magic Leap. So you probably have to make your software go on the Magic Leap store, and if you don't own a Magic Leap, then you don't have a clue how many games of interest are actually on that storefront. Mixed reality, including the Halo lens that Microsoft is working still on, does not seem like something that's going to succeed in gaming too much. Although Apple's tie-in with Legos might cause it to have a slightly interesting outcome.
We hunger for vengeance.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Evil minds.
Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Road Homeward 2 River Trip. This looks like this is probably an on-rails boating game. It does not look particularly interesting. I think this might be the equivalent of a walking simulator on a boat. English is not supported. It's $2.39 discounted. It's a Russian-only game. Interesting. Yep, this to me definitely looks like an asset flip walking simulator. They can look really, really fancy, and still end up feeling awful. GameIndustry.biz has an article. A new contender has entered the fight against Epic stealing things, I suppose. Musician Leo Pellegrino sues Epic Games over alleged misappropriation of his identity. Pellegrino's, quote, trademark moves have become inseparable from his persona and his life story, argues the following. This is a dance emote that apparently they put in.
I wonder.
So it's, let's see, more dance emotes from Fortnite have been stolen. See if we can jump to the part. So that the moving of the knees, the swinging back and forth. Okay, like there probably is a famous sax player. It's probably Leo Pellegrino that does these moves, and once again they've stolen it. I think there's a slight difference here in this filing than previous filings, in that it is not a claim of owning a copyright on the move. It is a claim of misrepresenting yourself to make a character move in the same way that is a unique movement to a specific person. I think this case probably would still fail, really, because if you start to go and look at like all the Saturday Night Live episodes where somebody is usually representing the movements, the actions, and the way of speaking of a president or somebody else famous, if all those famous people could say, well, actually, when you talk like Bob Dole, and Bob Dole talks like this, if Bob Dole could come back and say that Bob Dole owns the right on the way that Bob Dole talks to himself, which that's a really old reference to a really old Saturday Night Live characterization, that would not stand up. It really fails in the face of parody, and the idea that simple movements could be so distinguishedly owned by one person does not make sense at all. So yeah, this is another one of those court cases where people are suing because they're upset that totally and obviously Epic did steal these movements without any concern or interest. But unfortunately, the way the law is written, they are going to get away with that. That's just how that's going to happen.
Time runs out on me.
There you go. The case could potentially have been stronger if they were copying somebody who wasn't publicly known, but then if you're copying somebody who is not publicly known, they probably can't make the argument that they are known by these actions or by certain movements. Moving on to the next story, TechRaptor has an article. The first ever esports home game attracts over 9,000 attendees for the Dallas Fuel. So this Dallas, Texas-based esports arena for the Dallas Fuel esports team attracted 9,000 attendees for an Overwatch League. Let's see. Didn't it say it was a home game? Well then, let's see. This is the first time that I guess the Overwatch League has played outside of the Blizzard Arena in LA County. I'm trying to read this. Oh. I could see going to something like this. It kind of makes sense on the face of it until you and for the first time, I imagine by the second time or the third time that there's a League of Legends game, I would have no interest going there. I always wonder about something like these esport events. How many of these gamers are there because they love League of Legends? How many are there because they just want to hang out with other gamers? How many are there because they're streamers or wannabe streamers like me? Let me just put myself in that category. And they want to self-promote myself. Like, I certainly have the thought of going to gaming conventions and just being like, hey, check out my channel, subscribe to my channel, please, please, please. Just try to self-promote as much as possible until I got kicked out for being annoying. So yeah, there's a lot of thoughts there. I definitely wouldn't want to go to 2 League of Legends esports events. I can't see anything in those kind of events that would interest me, since I don't know anything about League of Legends, nor do I really care about League of Legends. But 9,000 people did, and that's a pretty big number. Not anything compared to what I imagine an average football game in Dallas would attract even a high school level or even junior high level football game would probably attract. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see these numbers slowly grow also.
Job done.
Moving on, we have an article here. We have a game on Steam called With Loneliness, which seems like it's a asset flip climbing game. I'd seen a game that seemed very similar to this just a few weeks ago, like a week or two ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is just the same game with a different name. In VR, having to climb things. It's a VR game that's too cheap at $5.94. Let's go ahead and squelch this and play this. And attack here. And in the turn. So yeah, With Loneliness is $5.94 discounted, which is too cheap. It supports English only. It doesn't look like it's a particularly interesting VR game. Climbing or hanging from upside down is not something that particularly interests me. Alright. Let's hit this. And then do this. And then this. And then in the turn. Next, we have an article from TechRaptor. Precipice review over the edge. What is Precipice? Seems like a board game of some sort. It doesn't look particularly interesting. Seems like it's just asset flip animal characters for no real reason. Yeah, they gave it a 4.0 mediocre, so a game I've never heard of. It got reviewed poorly, so that's good to know, I suppose, and that's kind of all I really needed to take from that. Let's see. Let's do this. And then do this.
Mojo
And do this and do that.
Time runs out on me.
Gamma Sutra has the same article citing arbitration clauses, Riot moves to block employees' lawsuits. Of course, they're going to try and block a lawsuit. We talked about this longer. Arbitration clauses should not be legal, frankly, in my opinion, but they are. So, and this is lawsuits from employees are the one reason why arbitration clauses exist in the first place.
I wonder.
Okay. Freeze a minion and then do full damage to it, or draw cards. And then play this.
Just like you.
I guess do this. Next, we have a game on Steam called Flan, F-L-A-N. I feel like I've seen an art style of a character like this before, but what I'm looking at here seems kind of like a weird Japanese avoid damage game that I'm not sure really is good. And when you're looking at single screenshots here, there's not a lot of detail, particularly when you have an entire character in black silhouette. I'm wearing out my voice. And spent the whole weekend not really talking, and still nothing here. Still not enough. I need to really take a year off of talking, and that's never going to happen. This game is $9.99. It's English, Japanese, and Chinese. I wonder if this... No, this could have been a Sony China project. I'm going to put this on the follow list, but frankly, it kind of doesn't deserve it. I'm going to be generous. It definitely is not visually appealing. It doesn't look like a game that's really worth anyone's time. It looks like it's all over the place. I need to play 7 more mage cards, and if I got another victory, that would be great. If I could get higher up in the ranking. I now see the end of the line as far as news, so not a ton more to say. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Project Cars developer fails to secure, quote, Madbox trademark for new console. Project Cars developer is Slightly Mad Studios. They were trying to get a trademark from Madbox for a recently announced VR-friendly game console, and it was eventually halted by the French studio Madbox. So, yeah, there already was is it a French movie studio or a video game studio? I wouldn't be surprised if it was one or the other. Madbox told the European Union IPO office, intellectual property office, I'm sure, there exists a likelihood of confusion on the part of the public, with the studio obviously worried Madbox name would be mistaken for its own. So, Slightly Mad Studios has, for the time, withdrawn its trademark request, and they need to go back to the beginning. There's entire industries of people having pre-done the research for names of things, and you just buy the name of something that they know will likely pass through trademark, or you license the name of something. Meanwhile, I think the bigger article, or bigger thing to take from this is that There really has been no news about this Project Cars developers console that they were trying to make. It wasn't going to become the fourth contender in a pretty, well, it would actually probably be the sixth contender, because if Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC are all competing, and then you have like Apple TV and all mobile Apple Arcade and Marvel things being added pretty soon, having the Mad Box come out also and be something of any interest that anybody would want to release their games on is extremely unlikely. I don't even think Project Cars is that good of a game to justify that. This would make more sense if it was called the Epic Box and Epic was trying to come out with a console, which I would not put that past Epic one bit if they started coming out with a console and had Fortnite on it and they put exclusives on that console, because that's definitely where they would be going next, is trying, if they succeeded in convincing Steam to take less of a cut for games, so that their next move would be to try to get Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony PlayStation to take less of a cut for selling games. And imagine how irritating that would be for yet another console with a bunch of console exclusives to come out. I played that wrong. I should have done the damage first. Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam that's a bunch of Asian characters, but it says it's The Exorcist. I think this is a top-down twin-stick shooter, low-effort Chinese game. It's suffering from dark screenshot syndrome, where I can't really see anything. English is not supported. It's $4.99, and yes, it is Chinese. It says it's a puzzle game and an RPG game.
What to do?
Doesn't seem like that. It seems pretty obviously that it's a mobile port also. Let's see. Okay. Gonna go ahead and play cards right now. That way we get everything done. Game Sutra has the same article. Mojang donates $100,000 to water charity after Minecraft players rally to a cause. The traveling trader skin and map pack has been downloaded. Need to be downloaded 100,000 times. I imagine it probably already has. And is there a link? Yeah, a lot of these articles aren't even linking towards the link to download the thing in the first place. Yeah, let's just win. So the Mojang, let's see, we're getting a win streak bonus over here. Good. The Minecraft Mojang blog clicked to the link to the link, so you have to click a link to click a link, basically. Now I have to decide Druid, a Rogue, or a Paladin, a Warrior. Let's come over here and play casual and play Druid, or you know what, just stay ranked. I may do a lot of off-screen playing today. So here's the map on Minecraft. It has 2,900
Protect the wild.
ratings, but it doesn't say how many times it's been downloaded. So it seems to me that there's just like nothing nothing here. And what happens if you click get this item? What does that do for you? Well, it does nothing for me when you click get this item because apparently it's trying to go to some website that's been blocked or something by my ad blocker. So yeah, I'm still kind of fairly certain that map only works on the Bedrock edition, the non-Java edition of Minecraft. Or you have to do something extra to get it to work on the Java edition. Moving on, we have a game here with a bunch of Asian character, and it says Yoni Rises. This looks like it is a probably Chinese horror walking simulator game. It requires either VR headsets for $11.99. It's a VR visual novel. Is what they're describing it as. Yes, and it's English, Japanese, and Chinese, so I assume because it has full audio Japanese, I was wrong, and it actually is a Japanese visual novel. That being said, being VR and reading a visual novel would just exhaust you for no reason. And it really doesn't seem like you're doing anything. You're just sitting at this desk and reading the story as it goes on, and something eventually maybe will jump behind you and give you a jump scare.
For the wild.
I fight.
Yeah, nothing interesting about that game. Next, Tech Raptor has an article here. Fade to Silence review, Tundra Tedium. From that title, I assume Fade to Silence is actually boring. It's also yet another game I don't recognize and I haven't heard of. It doesn't feel like. It looks pretty good visually, but yes, again, it's a 5.0. We're just not gonna see good games. And kind of understandably, until E3 happens. Like, that's just how this is gonna go. We might see one or two really, really good AAA games come out between now and then, but E3 is just gonna suck all of the announcements out of the room, suck all the air out of the room. Until then.
My eyes are open.
Flesh fails.
Oddly, this game, Fade to Silence, is a THQ Nordic game, and THQ Nordic is continuing to fail to really either get coverage or solicit coverage since their whole last debacle as far as advertising themselves and advertising games. This is probably an example of THQ Nordic growing too big, too fast. There is another story that I don't have any real source other than the creator of Prison Architect themselves put out a blog post saying that they are selling the rights to Prison Architect. They're done with it. That they've done all they can do. So yeah, if you're still big into Prison Architect, it's now going to be handled by a different company. Let's see. Happy Days is on the chat. He says E3 is fake. Certainly, almost certainly a significant portion of it is fake. The event definitely does occur, but most of the screenshots, most of the video, most of the in-engine rendering is in some small way faked, or pushing it, running off a PC for a game that is eventually going to be downgraded. But the hype certainly is real. Like, it is still there, and that is why we are in a current period where there's not very many good games coming out, because everybody's holding off until E3 to announce a bunch of games. And then a lot of the games that were announced at E3 last year still haven't come out this year. A lot of the games that will be announced at this E3 won't come out next year. I imagine there are a few games from 4 or 5 years ago that were announced at E3 or shown off at E3 and still are not available for purchase.
How unexpected.
Job done.
Moving on to the next article, similar article, kind of. Gamma Sutra has it. Starbreeze sells the 10 Crowns publishing rights back to Mohawk Games. Starbreeze, I believe, is the publisher that is running out of money, frankly. And they're desperately trying to hold on to enough money for Psychonauts 2 to come out and publish that. Certainly Starbreeze suffered from the underwhelming Overkill's The Walking Dead game to come out. It's kind of funny that the zombie game that I think is probably most interesting so far in the past 6 months is the World War Z game, not a Walking Dead game, not the Telltale final season of The Walking Dead game, not Days Gone. Days Gone is another example of a game that was shown off at E3 and never really felt like it had enough of a story or characterizations of characters to make me want to be interested in it. Same as Anthem. Let's see. Starbreeze also sold the publishing rights of System Shock 3. So they're just trying to save enough money to hold on until Double Fine finishes Psychonauts 2, I think, and then that will probably either save their company or more likely be the doom of their company. 1 damage. Restore. One damage. Attack. Yeah. Next we have an article here, Gamma Sutra. Nintendo saw over 1 billion in digital sales this year. First time for this company. No duh, of course, Nintendo's had basically 0 digital sales up until this point. There was the eShop on like the 3DS, and that's kind of it. So it's not surprising that this is the biggest digital sales ever for Nintendo. Maybe a little surprising that it's over 1 billion, considering they're not really offering a lot on their eShop, but they're certainly offering enough, and Nintendo has embraced on the digital Switch side, particularly in embracing of a lot of visual novels. Visual novels sell very well, a lot better than most people think, and a lot of indie games that would not make sense to sell in physical formats, but make a lot of sense when it's just a download. Well, the win streak bonus is going up. So if we can just get 2 more, we might even make it up to rank 17 before the end of the month. Next, we have a game on Steam called Get Out. Not to be confused with the Jordan Peele movie called Get Out. This looks like a asset flip horror game with a flashlight, just to make it worse.
I must protect the wild.
Let's see. Early access, English language not supported, and then $9.99 in its Spanish, Latin America. So why is the name of the game Get Out then? Why is it not Vámonos, which would be Spanish for get out or leave? Like, why have an English title for a game that does not support English? That makes no sense at all. Other than you are trying to make market confusion, which I assume that is exactly what they are trying to do. Although, it's very questionable how many people would legitimately confuse a movie for a video game. But I could see a lot of people thinking a video game is a movie tie-in to...
The light protects me.
But most people in video games who play video games these days realize that there are very few movie tie-in games that come out.
Someone injured?
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Deep Race Space, which visually doesn't look very appealing. We've seen a lot of these hover ships, F-Zero style racing games. There's nothing here special. The color palette is pretty ugly. They want $1.19 discounted, which tells you that it is a particularly low quality game. I would imagine that it's pretty short and has very few cars and tracks and options like that. Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Silent Gentleman, which looks like it's an RPG Maker style game. Yep, and like most RPG Maker style games, it's not interesting in one bit. $1.19 discounted. English only is the language. Let's see.
For the wild.
I fight.
Now, Gamatsu was down for a while, and they've changed their website. Before, they had all these ads at the top showing other articles. Seems like they've gotten rid of that, which is quite nice and cleans up their website quite a bit. But they don't have a lot to say as far as news today. It's also, I think, Japanese Golden Week, or the weekend was Japanese Golden Week, or last week was Japanese Golden Week. So that would also explain a lot as far as why there's not a lot of Gamatsu articles. But they do have one. Figment is coming to the PS4 on May 14th. I'm pretty sure Figment is a point-and-click adventure game. Musical adventure game. It came out on the PC on September 2017. And it seems like Gamatsu has changed their website, or at least when you're zoomed in, it's more reactive. Has a night mode, it seems, too. Let's see what the night mode does. Here's a question. Does this look better with the night mode? I think it does, but I don't know. Would this look better when you're watching on a computer monitor? Would this look better when you're watching on a mobile monitor compared to that? I'll leave it on night mode. I like night mode. I have like nothing I can do because I don't have any minions to summon. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. My time at Porsche update for consoles is adding more PC features soon. I'm still fairly certain my time at Porsche is more of a Stardew Valley and Minecraft clone than it really should be, and I'm not really interested in it because of that.
For the wild.
See, like, I have no idea what to do. I could play swipe and do 4 damage, but I don't know if it's worth that. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz has an article here. PlayStation Now downloads get double the playtime of streamed games. Sony's on-demand service has 700,000 subscribers, and many of them are choosing downloads over streams. Downloads were added a few months ago to PlayStation Now, and I think most people very quickly and very obviously realize that yes, it is better by far to stream, to download a game and not have an increased load time and increased frustration and lower quality compared to streaming, where the only time I would really stream a game is if I was just testing it out. I'd stream something for like one level, but then I'd also be playing games in a very different way from the way I usually play games, because what I usually do when I play games is pretty much guarantee that I'm going to play it from beginning to end. So yeah, I don't see a real use for streaming, and it seems like nearly double, over double the number of people with PlayStation Now agree with that concept, and they would just like to download it once and play the whole game and not have to worry about using their bandwidth. I'm a very atypical case here, but I at times embrace not just a second screens where I'm playing a game and have maybe something going on my phone, but I have like a second smart TV in my setup that I use for streaming. But when I'm not using it for streaming, sometimes I've got like my cable TV going, watching cable TV, and something streaming on Netflix, and something streaming on YouTube on my cell phone, and something else might be going on somewhere else too. I don't do that when I'm gaming per se, but I keep my bandwidth 100% used a lot of times. So it would be really annoying to other people using my bandwidth, or even me, if I was streaming a game and taking all the bandwidth from my entire house. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. PS4 software sales up at Sony as hardware decline continues. Sony's really, I don't think they can pivot away from being a hardware developer. Sony in general, they still have to make TVs, they still have to make Blu-ray players, they still have to make electronics. If they get away from all of that, I don't think there's enough that Sony would make at that point to justify Sony existing. Let's see. So that's why PlayStation 5 is going to be a big deal, and meanwhile PlayStation software is also going to be a big deal. I could imagine if Sony drops the ball either in the software or the hardware market in the next year, it's going to be really bad launch for the PlayStation 5 if that were to happen. 3 damage to a minion, or 1 damage and draw a card. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Bax, which is just an Arkanoid clone, Brickbreaker clone, low effort. Seen so many of these. I was speculating that Steam might be talking to more people and telling them, look, your game is not going to sell. It's just too low effort. Clearly, Arkanoid clones are still acceptable. We see them on at least a weekly basis. 99 cents with no discount, and then 100 achievements. Clearly this is an achievement game, and it's not really getting flagged for being an achievement game. Let's see.
Flash fails. Try crystal.
I can't kill any of these guys though. I'm gonna have to. I would have to do. Let's see. This. And then this. And then this. And.
Your turn to bleed.
This. Next one, I'm just gonna end the turn.
Almost out of cards.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna win by a fatigue, unless he has a Mechathune that he wins by.
Do you smell something burning?
What? What is this card? If your deck has empty, summon 6/6 Greasefire Elementals. 666. It's the Mark of the Beast. 666. Let's see. Why is this 0 attack and why is this 0 attack? Is there any way I can make him draw a card? I have like 12 cards to go. Next we have a game on Steam called Body Discovery, which seems like it's a half effort on a kid wandering around the giant body. There probably is room for a very well done biology game out there, but this does not look like it's well done. It's $19.99. It looks like it's a VR game, but it isn't. It has its own third-party ULA. So yeah, there's just not enough quality here to justify that price from what it looks visually. We may just play one more game. Let's see, where are we here? We need 2 more victories with the Druid and Rogue. We could switch over to the Rogue. We could also, we've lost our win streak, so let's go to the casual. Also, I want to make sure that I've won. Yeah, I'm going to win. I've won 5 ranked plays. The odds of me not getting 5 ranked wins over the course of a month is almost 0, but I want to double check. GameIndustry.biz, Nintendo Switch Online reaches 9.8 million subscribers in 6 months. Just under 1/3 of Switch owners are paid members to the online service. That is pretty high.
I must protect the wild.
It's a pretty high number considering how much Switch Online is not really worth it, although they are locking online play behind the Switch Online service, and I imagine that is the thing that's forcing a lot of these people who to subscribe, because it certainly isn't the NES ROMs.
Job's done.
The price is also cheap at $20 a year. Next we have a game on Steam that's a bunch of Asian characters and it says Guard the Future. And it looks like it's just a zombie game. Assets with zombie game. Yeah, I don't see anything here specifically unique. English not supported. $9.99 Chinese only. So yeah, a cheap Chinese zombie game in a world that has a lot of cheap Chinese zombie games. Only a few more games left to cover, and then I could go back to my Twitter feed and see if anything new came out, but I wouldn't be surprised if very little did. Next we have a game on Steam called The Garden Pub. This doesn't look terrible, but what is the actual game? It seems like it's your bartender simulator in 3D, which there was another bartending simulator game that came out recently that was slightly popular. This is an example of a game where you're doing someone else's job, which doesn't really make it a game. $4.99 with a 50% discount. Yeah, it looks nice because these are assets. These are pre-bought assets. That's the only thing. It doesn't actually even support VR, so it's just really zoomed in. So yeah, I don't see anything there I like as far as quality product. Next we have a game on Steam called Slide to Finish, which is clearly a mobile game that's been ported. It's just a draw a line physics game. Yeah, I don't see anything here that would make this something you'd want to play on a PC. $5.59 is particularly expensive, even discounted. English and Russian as the language. Yeah. No, nothing interesting there. Alright.
Here we go.
Next we have a game on Steam called Logistical 2 France. We've seen some of these logistical games before. It's a simulator of running some kind of logistics software that I think very possibly actually is a logistics software that they're just trying to sell as a game. But again, you're doing somebody's job, and a boring job at that case. This is $8.49 discounted. Even if you were obsessed with logistics, you should not be playing any of the logistical games, in my opinion. Let's see. Overkill.
Good tickets don't come cheap.
Return. This next story is slightly interesting. TechRaptor has an article. The U.S. lobbyist banned from EVE Online was found innocent. Earlier this month, U.S. lobbyist Brian Schoenman received a permanent. I assume this was supposed to be permaban and got corrected to permanent from EVE Online under allegations of in-game corruption. Now developer CCP have finished reviewing the information and are rolling back Schuman's ban. So claiming in-game corruption would potentially be liable and slanderous. I wonder if he threatened to sue them and they backed down specifically because of that, or if they actually investigated and found him to be innocent. It's slightly unbelievable that a politician would be innocent of any accusation in the United States these days, but it is possible. The bigger story from this kind of silly story,
The gates are open.
admittedly, is why as a US lobbyist, first of all, why do they have enough time to be playing EVE Online? Second of all, a bigger question, why are lobbyists allowed to exist at all? That's a great question I think everybody should ask. It's just like, how about we just make it illegal to be a lobbyist? That would be better for society.
Here we go.
Just going to do this. But yeah, those are kind of side notes. GameIndustry.biz has an article here. Focus Home Interactive brought in 126 million euro last year. Farming Simulator 19 sold over 2 million copies, lifting the publisher to a strong Q4. And 2 million sales, particularly for a niche game like Farming Simulator 19, which is not popular in the United States but seems to be pretty popular in Europe, is a lot of sales. And Saber Interactive's World War Z apparently is also a subsidiary of Focus Home Interactive, apparently. And, well, they published Saber Interactive's World War Z, so that game sounds like it's
The light protects me.
pretty good too.
This guy's toast.
So I wouldn't be
This guy's
surprised
toast.
if they see even stronger sales
Here we go.
in the next quarter. But I also wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people just discount World War Z and don't play it because it just feels and looks like a Left 4 Dead 2 or Left 4 Dead
They'll
3,
never know what.
and or just people don't get enough advertising for it. There definitely hasn't been a lot of ads. There's been tons of Borderlands 3 ads on YouTube. I see it all the time, and I'm like, you really don't need to be advertising that game this much. People know it's coming out.
Hey, lights out.
But there have
Hey,
definitely
lights out.
been a lot of other games that aren't being advertised as much as they should be.
No refunds.
Let's see. Hey, can I do this?
Double time and double back.
Here we go.
Nice.
Job's done.
TechRaptor has an article here. Sink or swim, how is Sea of Thieves 1 year later? The question is the answer, pretty much, because nobody's playing Sea of Thieves. There's been no coverage of it, no talk of it as a game as service, which there was a video that was spinning around where talking about how games as services are really just a scam, which for most instances is probably true. TechRaptor ends this article saying, while Sea of Thieves is ultimately much better than it was a year ago, it's still not a game you pick up and play. If you and a group of friends can devote time to it, the game is great, or at least amusing. If not, virtually any other game will likely be a better choice. Wow.
So many
That's-
options.
That is damning with very faint praise. Alright.
No breaks.
No refunds.
And I guess we'll try one more game and hopefully just get a quick disconnect. TechRaptor has an article here. Alien RPG series announced by Free League Publishing. So a new Alien game from the publishers of the tabletop RPG Mutant Year Zero. Oh, I guess this is probably not a video game as much as this is a board game. I don't know. Is this a video game or is this a board game? It's a tabletop board game. Okay, that explains it. It would be very weird for there to be a new Alien video game coming out this far away from the next Alien movie. And there's a lot of controversy on some of the older Alien games being particularly bad. A lot of that has to do with potentially Gearbox's mishandling of like Alien Colonial Marines. So there's it would be cool if there's an Alien game, but I'm not sure any Alien games have ever been that great since the Alien vs. Predator arcade games of decades previous. Because aliens aren't really cannon fodder. They're not like zombies. They're not easy to kill. They're supposed to be impossible to kill. So either you're going to have a game where you play as the aliens, which then you have to have something strong enough to reasonably do damage to the aliens, or you're going to have a case where there's only one or two or a few aliens in the entire game, and they just keep popping up, attacking you and stalking you over and over again. And frankly, if you look at the original Alien movie, it probably would play a lot better like a Telltale game than it would as an action adventure game or a shooter or anything else. Anything that would probably sell more copies doesn't make a lot of sense. Like Predator is the same case. It's one Predator for the most part in every movie. So you can do that in movies, but most games require you to have many disposable copies of enemies. Let's see. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Steve Jackson's Game Stakeholder Report 2019, staff and revenue declines. I have no idea who Steve Jackson Games is, though. They're the publisher of the Munchkin series as well as Zombie Dice. Oh, they're board games developers. Okay, so Munchkin and Zombie Dice not selling as well as it used to. Not really surprised there. There's, I imagine, a good number of reasons for that, but I'm not sure any of them are worth even mentioning.
Time's up. Let's do this. Job's done.
I totally played out of water that time. Yeah, tabletop board games and dice games, they were getting some promotion from Geek and Sundry back when Geek and Sundry first started, and they were popular or getting promoted a lot as being super popular. But I personally was watching those videos and getting kind of hyped on things like Munchkin, but then I never had anybody that was actually physically around me that would want to play that and know how to play that. So it kind of never had that opportunity. I think we can just wrap up here and I'll just play off screen. Tech Raptor has an article here we kind of talked about before. Mortal Kombat 11 update to ease Towers of Time and gift free currency. I still think there's nobody on any side of the argument really talking about the gameplay of Mortal Kombat 11. So it kind of failed to be a good fighting game for that reason. Gamma Sutra has an article, get a job, Pixar Animation Studios, Fox Next Games, and more are hiring. So if you want to be a level designer at House Marquee in Helsinki, or a QA tester at Camouflage in Bellevue, Washington, or an art director at Stardock Systems in Plymouth, Michigan, or an animation tool software engineer in Emeryville, California for Pixar, or a senior narrative designer for Fox Nest at San Jose. All of those jobs are listed, where you could research them and almost certainly find out you're not qualified for most of them. This is TechRaptor talking about more tabletop games, but I wanted to point it out anyways. Sailor Moon Crystal tabletop games coming from Japan Anime Games this year. So what would have almost certainly been a exclusive to Japan is getting translated and coming over. But there's a tabletop game of Sailor Moon Crystal, the remake that's I think only slightly better than the original Sailor Moon cartoon series for little kids, little girls mostly. Yeah, I'm not sure that anybody who's seen Sailor Moon Crystal in the West particularly would also want to play the board game, but then I bet there are a decent number of collectors out there. Gamma Sutra has an article. PlayStation Now has 700,000 subscribers. That's a pretty decent number of subscribers. We've talked a lot about PlayStation today because I imagine there was a shareholder meeting and they announced a bunch of numbers, and then the news sites broke those numbers into 3 or 4 different sites. GameIndustry.biz has the same article, right? It says women waived the right to sue when they were hired because they signed an arbitration clause. Personally, I think I would just probably see if I was getting a job somewhere, I think I probably would refuse to sign arbitration clauses and things like that and just not get hired at all. And I'd just be like, fine, don't hire me. I don't care. If this is how you want to start, the foot you want to start off with, I don't want to do business with you. I don't want to work for you. And frankly, pretty much every day that is my attitude. There is a million companies out there that I do not want to work for because I know that they are so built around the idea of abusing their employees and using their employees. Of course, there's very, very few companies that aren't built around that, unfortunately. Gamma Sutra has an article. Nintendo saw over $1 billion in digital sales this year, company first. I think we already talked about that article. And that brings me to the Humble Bundle. I don't think I'll be spending any money on Humble Bundles this month. There are a couple of games that I would want to get, though. So if anybody wants to gift those to me, for instance, the More Board Games bundle here, digital versions of Ticket to Ride First Journey, which I don't have, and Gloom, which is mixed, so, but also Love Letter and Twilight Struggle. And these card games and board games are pretty easy to show off as spotlights or as short series. I don't think I have all of Carscaroni, so I may have the main game but not the DLC. I don't think I have Pandemic, which is also mixed in the reviews. I don't think I have Ascension. I don't think I have any of Mysterium. So if somebody wanted to buy this bundle and gift me the Steam codes directly through Twitter direct message, that would be very much appreciated. Let's see if there's another bundle that particularly interests games. There's the Square Enix Collective Bundle that has Gote and Octahedron and Deadbeat Heroes. I don't think I have any of those. I do own the Turing Test. I don't own Forgotten Anne, I'm pretty sure. I don't own Black the Fall. I don't own Tokyo Dark. I don't own Children of Zodarks. And a lot of these games definitely are on the wish list. So, yeah. And let's see. Is there anything else as far as bundles? No. And remember, Humble Bundle, if you set the settings right, will allow you to donate 100% of what you spend to the charity of your choice, assuming it's a charity listed. And so you can buy these games and support people. I'm going down my Twitter feed. There's an article of Square Enix is creating over 100 new jobs in Canada in 2019. Let's see. Riot Games are organizing a walkout after Riot tries to block the legal action of the lawsuit. So it's now from threatened to organizing. Is there anything else of real importance? Low effort game came out on Steam. Just gotta scroll down here pretty quick, otherwise it's gonna be boring. The Capcom publisher sale on Steam is slightly interesting, but there's definitely a lot of Capcom games that are still probably too expensive or not on sale at all. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm not even seeing any other bits of news. So we've gone 3 hours, and there's just a ton of stuff I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to play offline and get a Druid and Rogue victory on the Asian account. I'm gonna have to play offline on the Americas account, and I believe get 2 victories, if not more, with like the Shaman and the Warlock. Anyways, that's going to be it for this stream and this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, you can support me through a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.